Most of us picture the same thing when we hear the word enthusiasm. The sports fan on his feet screaming at the screen. The crowd at the concert when their first notes of their favorite song begin. Arms up, voices loud, and the whole room electric. That kind of enthusiasm is visible, unmistakable, and you can feel it in the room. But that's never been me. For me, enthusiasm has always felt something different, something quieter. And for a long time, I wondered if that was enough. You know how we do the comparison thing. Did quiet mean less? If women were louder or more boisterous, somehow more connected, more alive, more filled with God. And then I found out what the word actually means. The word enthusiasm comes from two Greek words, en and theos. And I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the meaning I've got, and it's God within. Enthusiasm in its original meaning is not a personal trait. It's not a volume setting. It's not something you perform for a room. Enthusiasm is the evidence of God genuinely within you. And to me, that gave the word a shift. It's God within, to me, is an inner fire. It could be, if you're an extrovert, shown through volume and excitement. But through someone who's an introvert, it could be much quieter. And just learning to know, because when I have enthusiasm, I have a passion. I probably have a smile. I have anticipation. I do have energy. How it's displayed may be different. So many times we look at outward appearances or try to fake it. But today I really want to talk about the enthusiasm on the inside. We have been in a video series since the beginning of May, talking about our source and how we measure our life instead of an alignment or obedience, and how we make decisions. And we've talked about all different facts, but talking about enthusiasm and being filled with God, it's that abiding and where your identity comes from. Enthusiasm not as a performance or a personal trait, but a daily lived evidence of whether God is genuinely your source of what you're doing, of who you're being. I was reading a devotional one morning. I had my tea, I had my journal, and I had my candle going, sitting in my favorite spot that has become my place with God. And I was reading about the Gutenberg Bible. It was the first substantial book ever printed in the Western world, and it arrived in New York City in 1847. And something happened as it was carried through customs. Everyone in the room stood up. And quietly, without being asked, they took off their hats. There was no signal, no instruction to do so, just a silent collective recognition that something of extraordinary weight had entered the room. And then I read this: in Jewish synagogues, rabbis would remain seated during their sermons, but they would stand when they read scriptures, the word of God. And Jesus displayed that. He did the same. And I sat And I pondered that. And I began to ask myself this question: what do you take your hat off for? Not literally, of course, we don't wear hats anymore. But in your daily rhythm of life, what receives your full presence? What commands your pause? What do you approach with an inner sense of reverence that says, something sacred is here? Because reverence reveals relationship, and posture reveals what we actually value. If the Word of God sits in our lap the same way a task list does, hurried, squeezed in between notifications, approaches something we need to get through, that's not a discipline problem. That's a posture problem or reverence. And not with judgment, but it's easy to take things for granted. And we can lose our enthusiasm by what we are giving credence to. What are you taking your hat off for in your life today? And is that giving you energy or not? Most of the people that I have talked with the decades of serving and helping people, we don't lose our fire, our enthusiasm in a dramatic, quick way. It's a single moment that we decided to just disconnect. Familiarity erodes reverence. The word, oh, I've heard that before, and it moves from communion to consumption, from encounter to a checklist, from standing with my hat in my hand, glancing at the screen between meetings, to something I just need to check off. I did that today. And not because we stopped loving God, but because the pace of everything slowly crowded out the posture that keeps us connected. Jesus said, "Abide in me, and I in you." He said, "If you seek me, you will find me." What are you seeking? What are you pursuing number one in your life? Is it something that energizes you? Is it your source? Because abiding changes everything. Enthusiasm, God within. Not excitement, not manufactured energy, not the performance of spiritual enthusiasm, but the quiet, steady overflow of life that hasn't drifted from its source. When that connection quietly thins and when the posture shifts without us actually noticing it, something in our daily experience can change. I was thinking about when I've gone to the store and you grab one of those shopping carts that has a wheel out of alignment, those crooked wheels. You can still push it. You can still get through the store. You can get your cart and, check everything off and but it keeps pulling to the side every single time. And you have to push harder than you should have to. You keep correcting the direction. By the time you're done, you're more tired of shopping than it should have made you. This is what it feels like to carry what God has called you to do with a thinning connection to the source. We're still moving. We're still producing, still showing up, but something keeps pulling. And the tiredness doesn't make sense. given how much you love what you're doing. That resistance is often a sign. It is a signal that something is disconnected. Not that you failed, not that you've lost your calling because God doesn't change his mind about you, but that your posture, your hat, needs tending. Isaiah said it beautifully. Those who wait on the Lord renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings as eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They walk and not faint. Is it possible we should never be weary? Is it possible we should never be burned out when we are truly connected to our source? Running, walking, carrying real responsibility, but the strength keeps renewing because the source is right. Waiting on the Lord is not passive. It actually means to intertwine. It isn't falling behind. It's actually the most productive thing you can do in your entire list of things to do. Waiting on the Lord is the practice of taking your hat off every single morning and saying, I know something sacred here, and I'm not going to rush past it. This posture sustains a steady burning. It keeps enthusiasm alive. KPI, the world's key performance indicator, says push harder, produce more, reset your goals, optimize your output. But God's kingdom, his spiritual intelligence, asks different questions. And approaching that from a place of reverence, posture questions, not productivity questions. It's a steady burning, an inner fire that doesn't run out because it wasn't yours to maintain. It's his to sustain as you stay close to him. This is what vibrant living is all about. And my videos that I've been sharing, it is a different source, a different measure, a different way of deciding your true identity, and a completely different understanding of what it means to carry God's fire and the work he's called you to do. Kingdom spiritual intelligence is not a method, it's really a life. And how that looks in your life is going to be uniquely you, not comparing to anyone else of what enthusiasm looks like, because that's why it says God looks at the heart. If this is resonating with you, I have a free checklist to help you decide and decipher where you are and what next steps are. And I also have something powerful coming in July. So as we wrap up our time together today, remember to get your checklist. But do some inventory. What have you been taking your hat off for? What has been your source? Comment below. I'd love to hear. I'll read every one. I believe in you. This is a taste of vibrant living. Bye for now.